Will is 11. Really, Mari? Trying to prove that? It sounds so crazy. Honestly, I think you really messed up this time. How can that even be? I'll tell you how. If you look in the Stranger Things Bible, you will see that the assumption by many fans that Will is LGBT+ is actually true. The Stranger Things Bible is a document the showmakers had in order to pitch the show to Netflix. It's canon. I'll link in the description. Will Byers, 12, is a sweet, sensitive kid with sexual identity issues. He only recently came to the realization that he does not fit into the 1980s definition of normal. His innocent choices, such as his colorful clothes, prove a constant source of bullying. Like Mike, Will escapes through fantasy gaming, where he can be himself, uninhibited. He has a close relationship with his mother Joyce. His brother Jonah helps raise them in lieu of their father, who abandoned them 4 years ago. And credit goes to this post on Tumblr by Beach Death for pointing out this quote from the Stranger Things Bible, and also pointing out this scene from Stranger Things Season 1. I'm showing you screen grabs so I don't get copyright striked. He has a couple of friends, but you know, the kids, they're mean. They laugh at him, his clothes. His clothes? Lonnie used to say he was queer. So we know that Will has confusing feelings about who he is, and that in the 1980s, it's not exactly safe to be queer. So where's the one place he can be who he wants to be? That's right, through fantasy gaming. I think Stranger Things takes place inside the imaginations of people playing a modified Dungeons & Dragons, and the Dungeon Master is Will. Additionally, I think 11 is Will's character that he uses to be in the game as he is DMing. You know how sometimes the DM will have a character that helps guide the party in the right direction? That's 11. Basically, Will made a D&D game based off his own real life, friends, and family, and he added all the supernatural elements to the story. Each character is being played by the respective person in Will's life. You'll notice that Will and 11 are never at the same place at the same time, and when they are, Will is unconscious or otherwise preoccupied, aka unplayable. The entire first season, 11 only appears after Will is gone, and then Will only comes back after 11 leaves the main group. And in season 2, the same thing happens. As soon as 11 starts hinting at coming back to the main group, Will needs to be put into a chemically induced coma. And the only time they interact is when 11 touches Will's mind when he is unconscious, or when she is finding him in the Upside Down and Will is still acting in a sort of non-playable state. But what about the final dance, you say? Will get some random girl we have never heard of to come over and dance with him right before 11 shows up, making his character busy. Everyone else gets a significant dance partner, but Will just dances with some girl, TM, signifying him switching to 11's character while playing the game. Then he plays as 11 going to the dance with Mike, and they kiss. Because sometimes boys play as girls so they can kiss their best friend, and that's part of growing up and figuring things out, okay? Some people go through that kind of stuff. It's totally normal. Other people don't, and that's totally normal too. Maybe Will feels like 11 is his true self. Or maybe he uses 11 to do the things he wishes he could do. And if the thought of two 13-year-old boys kissing upsets you, why? Why were you not upset when 11 and Mike kissed? What's the difference? Moving on, in a lot of ways, 11 represents a lot of issues with her father, an issue that Will deals with in his own shitty father, but in less direct ways. Both 11 and Will are pressured by a more masculine figure to be tougher and do things that they can't do emotionally, like killing the cat, or Will trying to be more masculine. 11 first appears as an extremely androgynous person and gradually gets more feminine as she tries on different looks. People mistake her as a boy at first, but soon realize she is a girl, maybe representing some things that Will wants to do. I get it. Not everyone is open to that kind of idea, but it genuinely makes sense to me that a kid in the 80s who doesn't conform to social norms might make up a character that they can fill their wishes inside of. We should also note that Mike is the only character that can tell that 11 is a girl right off the bat, while the others assume she is a boy.
Still pretty? Yeah. Pretty. Really pretty.
I also really feel that the chemistry between Will and Mike seamlessly transitions from Will to 11 so quickly and easily in season 2. It's the same level of closeness to me, and it just feels that these are the same two people interacting. You can feel differently, and that's okay. It's just something I felt. These kids are experimenting with the D&D format and making their own stories, stuff outside the lore of the games. That is why they keep pointing back to the D&D booklets. Not because it's the kids' only way of understanding, but it's literally them making up new monsters and then using the rules they know to define them. There are a few times where people directly refer to each other as the warrior or the group's mage, and if you'll notice in the first season, 11 had to recharge her powers as if she had used up all her magic points. I wish I could show evidence more clearly, but copyright on YouTube is really weird and I don't want to strike. When they are trying to explain the Mind Flayer, they point to a character in the rulebook, and the party as a whole disagrees with how the monster works, saying it does or does not make sense and different rules about it. Why? Because they're making it up. They're a bunch of people playing a totally new type of D&D game, and they have no reason to think any of the things they are randomly saying are true. They're just making it up, and then it becomes true. Again, I really wish I could show you the scene, but I can't because of how YouTube works. Seriously, honestly, rewatch this and then try to imagine how all of this is being played out in front of a D&D table, and really think why Will and 11 are never active at the same time. Will always goes off screen or unconscious when 11 is around. And to me, the reason there are scenes like 11 with her sister reflecting scenes from Star Wars is because Will just saw Star Wars. It came out a few years before Stranger Things. When Callie is teaching 11 how to use her powers, it reflects when Yoda was teaching Luke how to use the Force. And when Callie gave 11 the nightmare of her father, it was a lot like when Luke had to face his own darkness with Darth Vader in the Dark Side Cave. The first season is heavily based off E.T., a movie that came out a year before the events of Stranger Things. All these references to pop culture are not Easter eggs. They are the kids using pop culture to make their own stories. There are also the Alien and the Thing type influences in the horror parts of the story, both movies coming out before the events of Stranger Things. The majority of the influences in Stranger Things just so happens to have been movies that were released soon before the events of the first season. Doesn't it make sense that the kids and Will implement what they saw in movies and using D&D to make up their own adventures? I know season 2 kinda seems more campy, but this is my explanation as to why that is. It makes sense to me. It could also be that Stranger Things is just getting more campy. I get it. It's a cliche dream theory that's all in their minds. But if you don't like it, that's cool. We're all just having fun. Also, one more thing. The last 2 letters in Will's name look like the number 11. Illuminati confirmed.